Thank you very much. Boy, it is an honor to be here with you today. I'm going to probably walk out around this. I move around a lot more than when I talk. I can't stay behind a podium. But it's great to be here. I've been going all around the state, talking to people in Ohio. We're going to win Ohio. We need your help to make that happen. Your vote here counts just as much as someone's vote up in Columbus. And we need you to help us get the vote out. We need you to contact your neighbors, get involved, and make sure that I think it's going to be close in Ohio, but I'm pretty sure that if we do what we need to do, and that if we continue to work hard, that we'll get the job done. Yes. As I looked at by the way, I am the oldest of 5 boys, and 4 of the 5 of us are on the road pretty regularly for my dad right now. One of them, my brother Ben, is his residency. He's studying to be a doctor, so he's tied down a little bit. He can't be out on the road as much as he would like. But the rest of us are crisscrossing the state and others, talking about my dad. And rather than talk about his policies and what he'll do, we like to talk about just who he is. It's something that we can do, I think, a little bit differently than other people. As I told my wife a few weeks ago, as I got my schedule and looked at what I'd be doing, I said, okay, well, I'm going to spend a few days in Ohio, and then I'm going to be in West Virginia, and then I'm going to be in Michigan, and then I'm going to be in Florida, and then we went through, and I said, I should be home by November 7th. And I should tell you, my wife and I have 6 children, and my oldest is 17. My youngest are twins. They're 4 months old, and so we've got our hands full. I should say my wife has her hands full because I've abandoned her. I'm out here speaking to you, and she's at home taking care of the 6 kids. As I walked through that schedule with her and told her about that, and I apologized. I said, I feel so bad you're going to be here taking care of these kids without my help. And she said, you know what, that's okay, because what you're going to be doing is more important for the future of our kids than anything you could be doing at home. And this election, I had the privilege a few weeks ago of attending a fundraiser with some people who I think know a lot about elections. And it was interesting to hear Condoleezza Rice and others stand up and say that this is the most important election of their lifetime. And as they walk through the differences in the visions that we face right now between what Democrats want to put forward and what we as Republicans want to pursue could not be more stark. And you look back and say, listen, we know the economy's been tough. Barack Obama inherited a tough economy 4 years ago. But the policies that he's put in place have slowed the recovery down so much more than they needed to. There are 23 million Americans who are out of work or underemployed. And that is it's immoral. It's a shame. And each one of those Americans has a story to tell. And we need to get those Americans back to work. My dad talks about a plan. He's got a 5-point plan that he wants to put in place to get, he thinks that by putting that in place, we'll get the country turned around again, get the economy growing again. And as a result of growing the economy, as opposed to fighting about who should be paying more and how do we divide the pie, he wants to grow the pie, and he thinks that by the end of 4 years, the country will be able to create 12 million jobs. Think about that, what that means for Ohio, coal country here, specifically in Ohio. By the way, I should mention that my grandfather was born in Wales. His dad was a coal miner and came over to this country to start a new life here because America was a land of promise and opportunity. And he came here. He started his own business. He came to Michigan. I hope you don't hold that against me. That's right. He started his own business there. He built that business himself. He had the help of his brothers and sisters to get that business started. He worked hard. He built a great little company. That's what America was founded on. The principles my dad wants to help us get back to are free markets and strong education, free trade, things that help us investing in the energy sector. he thinks that coal is a good thing. He doesn't want to wage a war on coal. He wants to promote coal and help us use it to gain our independence on foreign oil. Rather than tell you a lot about my dad's policies, I thought I'd tell you maybe a story or two about what it was like growing up with him. It is funny. I have to tell you, it's so strange to say that my dad is running for president. For me, he's just Dad. And we teased him a lot growing up, and I think as most teenagers do. I never imagined that he would run for office. I was 24 years old when he ran for the first time, so I was out of the house. I graduated from college. I had been married, and to hear that he was thinking about running for office, I was like, "You really?" And couldn't believe it. And as I look back at his career, he really has had a remarkable career. You all know how good of a business person he was, and how good of a job he did fixing businesses. And then going to the Olympics. When he took over the Olympics, they had a $400 million budget deficit, and when he left, they had a $100 million surplus. That doesn't happen with Olympics, and he went in a surplus there. Same thing with Massachusetts. People ask me, how does a Republican win in Massachusetts? It was simple. There was a $3 billion budget deficit at the time, and the Democrat who was running had an answer to fix the budget deficit. You want to guess what that answer was? Raise taxes. And my dad's answer was to cut taxes and to cut spending. And as a result of that, he won Massachusetts. And when he left, instead of a $3 billion budget deficit, he left with a $2 billion surplus. So the principles of conservatism and cutting spending, cutting taxes, they work. They got people back to work there in Massachusetts. Let me tell you a story, not about his policy or I think you all know that he'll be a great president. I don't know anyone who's as good at fixing things as he is. Let me tell you a story about his character. I was about 16 years old, and my parents had a small house in Hocasset, Massachusetts. It was on Buzzards Bay there, on the Atlantic Ocean. And one of my favorite activities was to go fishing. And one particular Saturday afternoon, we had a little red rowboat, and we rowed it out. I rowed it out a couple hundred yards offshore, dropped my anchor line over the front, and dropped my fishing line over the back. And then just kind of had a lazy afternoon. A little while into this, I turned around and it drifted quite a ways. I turned around to check to see why the anchor line wasn't holding. And as I did that, I remembered that I had not actually tied the anchor line to the front of the boat. So I had drifted quite a ways out, so I rowed back to shore. And as I got back, I brought the fish in, showed my dad the fish, and I kind of muttered under my breath, "By the way, I lost the anchor." And he looked at me and said, "What do you mean you lost the anchor? Go back out and find it." And now I thought, okay, that's a small anchor in a big ocean. There's no way I can find that anchor. So I said something I'm kind of ashamed of now. I looked at him and I said something to the effect, "Well, that's a dumb idea. You go find it." And rather than the reaction that I probably deserved, he decided to do that. He brought me down to the beach. We got in that rowboat together. We rowed out. He taught me how to do a grid search. We found 2 points of land on the shore, and we rowed back and forth between those 2 points in one way and then vertically the other way. And much to my disappointment, we found that blessed anchor. We pulled it up, and as we rowed back to shore, I expected the lecture to come. It didn't come, and I think because it didn't come, it got cemented in my mind a couple lessons. The first lesson I learned that day was that it is true, my dad is the cheapest human being alive. This was a very inexpensive dinghy anchor we're talking about that you could have picked up for a couple dollars at a local hardware store. But it drives him crazy to waste money. When he was governor of Massachusetts, it drove him crazy to waste taxpayer money. When the legislature wanted to spend things on things that we didn't need. When he was at the Olympics, it drove him crazy to waste money there. It drives him crazy to waste money in his personal life. I think we need someone like that in Washington who doesn't want to waste our money. Second lesson I learned is, and I know it sounds cheesy, but he really believes it. And people who know him well can tell you the same thing. They've seen it over and over again in his life. He really believes that when a big challenge comes or something hits you head on, with a little bit of ingenuity and a lot of hard work, you can face that challenge head on and beat it. And he's done that over and over again. Whether it was turning around troubled businesses at Bain Capital, fixing the Olympics, fixing the budget mess in Massachusetts. And he thinks the same thing about Washington. The reason he's running, my mom went to him and he wasn't sure he wanted to run or not. And she said, "But Mitt, can you fix it? If you get there, just tell me. If you get there, is it too late? Is it fixable?" And he said, "Yeah, you know what? I think with a lot of hard work and bringing enough of the right people in, I think we could still fix this thing." And she said, "Well, then you have no choice. You got to run." And so, thank you. So, with a little bit of ingenuity and a lot of hard work, you can do hard things. The third lesson I learned actually later in life, when I had my own kids. I now realize that my dad probably didn't care so much about that anchor as much as I thought he did. He was out there for me. He recognized this was a teaching opportunity. He wanted me to learn a lesson about me. He wanted me to learn those first two lessons I told you I learned. He wanted me to learn like he had learned from his dad. His dad had grown up during the Depression. Had been raised all over the place. Farming on a potato farm in Idaho that had gone bankrupt a couple of times, and so he ended up being very frugal and passed it on to my dad. And my dad wanted me to learn that same lesson, and he wanted me to learn that you don't give up on yourself. You don't just because things look tough. And so the reason I want to relate that story to you is the other side is going to say lots of things about my dad over the next couple of weeks. They're going to talk to you about how bad of a guy he is. They're going to talk to you that he wants to raise taxes on the middle class. It just doesn't make any sense to me. His plan says he's going to cut the tax rate on everybody by 20%. I'm not sure how they do their math. When you cut taxes by 20%, that's cutting taxes, not raising taxes. They're going to say a lot of things, but I want you to know that in my heart, my dad is a good man. He's running for the right reasons. He wants to help restore the greatness of this country. He wants to provide. He wants to ensure that the America that we had when we grew up, land of opportunity and freedom, is there for the next generation as we pass it on to them. Now, I failed to do one thing, and I should have at the beginning, but how many of you here are veterans? Can you raise your hand if you're veterans? Thank you for your service. We give them a big round of applause. I'm going to ask each of you a big favor now.
Anything for you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to hold you to it. We need your help. We need you to make phone calls. We need you to talk to your neighbors. We need you to get online and send, pull up, there's some videos on the internet you can send to your neighbors and friends. Send those around. We've got offices in the county. We need you to come out and make phone calls in the offices and do everything you can do to help make sure. We've only got 48 days to go. So if I can do this for 48 days, I would sure appreciate it if you could help in the effort. So let's go win this together, guys. Thanks so much.